Hey gang, this is Ryan Moore. Good morning, good evening, whatever it is for you. We're here with Chuck Bomar from College Leader and author of some of our books that we have on our site, College Ministry 101 and The Slow Fade. And Chuck, thanks for being with us here today. Appreciate you, man. Why don't you just share with us a little bit about why you're so passionate about college-age ministry?
Well, they're people.
Yes, they are.
And for me, I became a believer in college, and I happened to find a church at that time, which was in the early 90s,
Yeah.
that actually had a college ministry,
Okay.
not knowing that it wasn't something that was really embraced nationwide. So I saw the benefit in my own life, and then when I started a college-age ministry, and I realized, wow, there was not many resources out to help me begin,
Yeah.
when I had a heart for these people, but I started to see the whole in the church as well, and so,
Sure.
and I started seeing the benefits not only from my own life, but the people that we were investing in, and then I started realizing, man, there's just nothing out there there were some things out there,
Sure.
but nothing that was really helping me in a local church context,
Yeah.
and to begin to start, to go by, and so that's pretty much the gist.
Cool.
Yeah.
So share with us a little bit about your journey in young adult ministry, college-age ministry. Where did you start out? Where have you been? Where you are now?
Well, I started out in a church in Simi Valley, California, in college ministry.
Small church out there,
It's
right?
it was a medium-sized church at first, and then it became
Yeah.
a mega church.
And that pastor was
Francis Chan.
Francis Chan.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought college-age ministry would be really easy because of who our pastor was.
Sure.
But it didn't have as much effect on it as I thought it would.
Yeah.
We had to really work hard at even connecting people to our church services, even though we had Francis. So, but I started there in '99 and started from scratch, and had a blue post-it note with 6 names on it and said, "Here, start a college ministry."
Yeah.
And then I was there for about 9 years.
Okay.
And in the spring of '08, I moved to Portland, Oregon, to plant a church, and been there the last 3 years.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, if you can't summarize your books a little bit for us, College Ministry 101 and The Slow Fade.
Well, the 101 book is really kind of an overall philosophy of ministry, and it talks a lot about the 8-stage issues college-age people are dealing with that I believe, not that it's the end-all be-all, but kind of break it up into kind of 5 key areas that I believe that we really need to address head-on. Not in a confrontational way, but specifically.
Yeah.
And then just giving some practical things for like the leader and working with volunteers, and the overall approach of assimilating college-age people into the context of your church. So it's pretty 101 in the sense of overall philosophy of ministry. So the Slow Fade book is really a book. Actually, the story is we actually were writing it to leaders, and then we realized, you know what? I think it's more effective to have a tool that we could give to the everyday average adult in our church,
Yeah.
to help them understand their role and that they can play in the life of a college-age person that's very simple, and kind of helping them overcome some of those obstacles of intimidation and kind of confusion as what do I do? What do they really want to talk to me? And so really just a book that's very simple to read, that an older believer that wants to, or we want to invest in a college-age person, and just
Right.
a practical thing for them to kind of get a picture of what that would look like.
So what is maybe one thing from that book that you could share? Here's somebody who's maybe they're not a young adult, they're not a college pastor, they're not even a college leader at their church, but they want to make a difference somehow. What would you suggest to that person?
Well, I would suggest legitimately just getting to know a college-age person. Starting with maybe inviting one out to lunch after church. The college-age person probably will go.
They love to eat. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe committing to kind of just pray for a college-age person once a week.
Yeah.
Trying to get your mindset on them and to value them as a person in your church. And that may mean connecting and just asking questions about their life as you sit down with them, but it could mean just starting with begin to pray about them in your church and for God to meet them where they in your church, and maybe for an opportunity to actually get to know one like that.
I love it. A couple of things I've heard you say before, and I was hoping you could maybe expand on this a little bit. One is, if you don't have a college-age ministry, you're dropping people when they need you most. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, I don't mean that it's more important of an age stage than any other age stage. What I'm saying is that at this time of life, they're in between just about everything.
Yeah.
And they desperately need people to speak into their lives as just loving mentor voices in their lives. And it doesn't need to be just one adult. Hopefully it'll be a community of people. But they are thinking through so many things. They have way more questions than answers. And most of them feel like they're walking through it alone.
Yeah.
And because they are. And that's just a huge opportunity that I think we're missing as a church. And I think that they need us most. They're in a time of dire questions and needs. And that's what I mean by it.
Okay, cool. A college-age ministry is an assimilation ministry. Kind of expand on that a little bit.
Well, they're at a point of being in between life in the student world and life in the adult world. And a lot of them are still kind of in the student world more so than the adult world, because a lot of them are going to school and that kind of deal, or getting some education.
Yeah.
But they're at a point of transition and assimilating themselves as an individual into what it would look like to be an adult. And so what I mean is that the college-age ministry needs to then come behind them and support them and help them assimilate from the life of a student to the life of an adult. And we do that by helping them relationally connect to adults in our church more so than the students in our church.
Sure.
And that's all I mean. I feel like that's the role that a college-age ministry has in the local church.
Yeah.
And no other ministry will do that.
Yeah.
And so this is the age stage, so we need to organize our age stage around the needs of that age stage.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the need is.
So it's kind of taking them from having a relationship solely with people of their specific life stage to relationships with the overall life of the church.
Yeah. Because again, like a lot of times our college ministry will be those college students that serve in the student ministries.
Yeah.
The problem is, that's great, and they'll be some of the best volunteers.
Sure.
The problem is they don't have relationships with other people in the church, and so therefore they never feel like they're an adult in the church.
Yeah.
And they don't have a sense of belonging in the church. So, because it comes through relationships. So if we can connect them with older adults, not only do we have somebody that's more experienced, kind of lovingly speaking into their life, but they also feel like they're growing up too, and a part of the church, not because of program or church service, but because of people.
Sure.
And that's sustainable. So that's why I feel like it's to be the only role that we have.
Wow. I love it. Well, there you have it. Ryan Moore with Chuck Bomar. You could visit Chuck's website, chuckbomar.com, and collegeleader.com or .org. collegeleader.org. And buy his books. You could buy them on our site. You could visit collegeleader.org and get them there as well. Read them, do the principles laid out in that book as well. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys later. Chuck, thanks. Appreciate you, man.